is so that the congregation knows that this individual is Muslim. Once it's known by the congregation, like where does this come in handy and where does it help? If this person is looking to get married, if this person passes away, if this person has, they need to be, they're looking for zakat or they're looking for sadaqah, right? There's eligibility requirements that are in place, whether it be for marriage, whether it be for death, whether it be for zakat. There are certain things that come into play and there are certain rights that need to be given to the person. So that is the benefit of coming and doing it publicly. But at the end of the day, if a person accepts Islam, it's not necessary for that person to come to an imam for that. And like we said, the reason to formalize it and the reason that we have two witnesses for that is to testify on behalf of that person in case there is a need for it, right? So, and we had mentioned some of those needs. There are also some places where there are political needs. When a person needs to go for Umrah, I know that sometimes they ask for a certificate if this person has taken a Shahadah or has accepted Islam or not. So there are some practical purposes for that, and it is something, again, it's not necessary, but it definitely can be important. How to join Islamic schools online? I don't know, but I'm sure that there are a number of them that are available, and I guess this brings into a broader question, and where should we send our kids for school? And it's a valid question. And I know that there are a lot of brothers and sisters who have approached me saying that, okay, what should I do about my children's education? And unfortunately, I don't have a prescription that gives a fixed answer on how to deal with that and how to handle it. Everybody's family situation is different. My kids, they go to public school. Saying that, I'm also the imam of the masjid. If I want a program, right, I can just go to the masjid, I can create it, and I can have my kids join that program. Not everybody has access to the same resources, and I think that's something that's really important. When my kids needed space to pray, I remember my daughters, when they're in elementary school, and the two of them still are, they have no problems, they're given a space to pray. My sons had a little bit of a problem in middle school. I went to the middle school, that was solved as well, and my eldest son is in high school now. So these can be issues, but it depends on how involved the parent is. In order to help those issues, one of the biggest issues now that is happening, throughout the different counties is this gender issue, right? So there's a lot of gender, transgender things, and a lot of parents are worried on like, okay, well, how do we deal with this and how do we tackle it? And I would give them the same advice I give to anyone who either homeschools their kids or even sends their children to Islamic school. There are certain things that can't be outsourced, right? Like we can't outsource education completely. So if you're talking about nurturing, if you're talking about tarbiyah, if we're talking about, just teaching general manners and etiquettes, these things come from the home. And it doesn't matter where we send our children to school, because we have to understand, for some people, like, yes, Islamic school is a solution, but not everybody has $800 plus a month to pay for a child to send their kids to school, and that's a real problem. And some people, they'll say, okay, well, yeah, I can afford it, but I'm not happy with the quality of the Islamic schools, so why should I pay for it? And again, that's a reasonable excuse. And there are we also have to take into account that sometimes Islamic schools are a last resort for some parents. Some parents, their child gets kicked out of 2 or 3 schools, and the only school that is willing to take them are some of these Islamic schools. Why? Because it's a paid education. And so, yes, we will protect them in some ways, and there are some pieces of information that they will get from those schools. For some people, having their child become a hafiz is a very important part of their upbringing. For other parents, it's not that important. And there's no right or wrong answer, right? It's up to the family on how they want to proceed and how they want to go forward and deal with that. So like I said, I don't have a prescription on what can be done. What I can say is, like, we have these options that are available, right? We have public school, we have private schools, we have Islamic schools, there's homeschooling now. I know there's a very good co-op in the area that is available. My youngest daughter is actually a part of that. So out of my 4 children, my youngest is the one that I've put in the co-op. Why? Because every child is different, and we have to make sure that each child's needs are being catered to. We can't just paint one brush and solve all of the problems in the community. So we have to make sure that we discuss and we seek counsel from those who are around us, like, hey, how did you go through this? Because many parents, even when I was in New Jersey, there was a co-op that was there amongst a number of parents, and those parents were like, no, public school is bad, and da-da-da-da. And I always found it ironic because they were all graduates of public school, right? Like they all finished public school, and then they started their own co-op. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them. But we have to understand, again, the problem that I have is, like, okay, the parents who send their kids to Islamic school, they look down at the parents who send their kids to public school, and maybe the parents who send their kids to public school, they look at the people who send their kids to Islamic school as elitists, and it creates like this social strata, which can definitely be problematic. And we should never look down on each other. Everybody's situation is unique. Everybody's situation is different, and we're never going to have a universal solution. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made every single one of us different. He's given us all different problems. He's given us all different issues. We just have to make sure that we're doing the best that we can in order to cater to those problems and cater to those issues. And Allah Azza wa Jal, He's given us two powerful tools, right? He's given us istikhara and istishara. He's given us the ability to seek counsel from Him Azza wa Jal and to bless our decisions, and also to seek counsel from others, right? So it's very important for us to, if I'm in public school, like, am I involved with some of the committees that are in those boards? Like, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless her, like Abrar, she appointed me to be on the Family Life Education Advisory Council, right? So as a parent, my kids are going to public school, but I'm trying to also be involved in being an involved parent. Like, am I calling the teachers of my students? And again, this is universal. Don't think because my kids are going to Islamic school, I don't need to have contact with the teachers, right? And I need to know what's going on. Everybody has this now, right? This is like a window to the universe. and these things, sometimes our children will see things that they shouldn't see. They'll see things that are inappropriate. And we can't protect them from everything, but we should at least equip them in learning how to respond to those things. I remember I had a brother ask me one time, he's like, what can we do to protect our kids? I was like, listen, Akhi, you can build a house, you can cut off electricity, and you could put a moat, you could put a moat around the house. And I said, this will cut them off, because if there's no electricity, right, there's nothing. And you can definitely protect them from a lot of the things that are happening in the world today. But the drawbridge is going to have to come down, and our children are going to have to go outside one day. Are they equipped to deal with the challenges that they're going to face outside? Are we teaching them how to answer some of these questions and some of these issues? And it's really interesting for me that the challenge of this generation, it's very different from the challenge of my generation. Like my generation, there was a big identity problem, like, am I American or am I back from my home country? But we never questioned Islam, right? Like Islam was just like, yeah, we're Muslim and this is who we are. For this generation, it's like, well, they're actually questioning Islam, right? They're questioning, well, how do you know God is real? And these are questions, unfortunately, many of us aren't equipped to deal with. We have the avenues and we have the people who can help us deal with it, but how many of us have actually tackled those issues directly? So taking that step back and kind of getting perspective on where our children are, meeting them where they're at in order to equip them with the challenges that they face in society, I think that is far more important than than putting them like in a fortress, right? So I think controlled exposure to certain things and certain ideas is important so that they can be equipped to handle it later on, versus shielding them and sheltering them from everything, which can end up being more detrimental. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and our families.